Whirling with a little bit of a squirrely moment there on the bottom as he was snapped tight on the exit of the corner. Christian Challenger trying to stay off the back of Abramitis. They're going to go 3-1 as they come down the front stretch with Travis whirling on the bottom. There's contact. They still keep going.
Whirling all the way to the bottom, but he doesn't have the speed. He's pinched too far to the inside. Challenger on the high side. He's going to be able to get the nose ahead. We are going green to the finish. Abramitis has the inside, but can he get it off the corner? He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it? Abramitis takes the win by 7/1000ths of a second. The top five were only 7/100ths between each other. Unbelievable finish.
Pulling up ahead, but it's going to be 3 wide as they head down to turn 1. Look at that. That's Ian Haycox making the move for the lead on the inside. They're almost 4 wide behind him. That's Reed Miller who gets into the back of everybody. He cleans out Yuko Leskala.
Unbelievable. Haycox with a move that saved his bacon. He gets a great run, covering down to the inside, almost all the way to the grass. He'll force Holly to go the long way around as they approach Rent. Kings is still potentially in this. No, he's starting to drop back as he tied on fuel here. As Holly tries to go around, he might have the speed to do it if he can just challenge him down to the line. He is a little bit wide. Now Kings is coming back. They are running out of fuel. It's going to be Kings who goes from third to first at the final run. Oh, this is a bad place to catch him. He's going to be able to get through one. That's some distance. That is the buffer that he needs. I think that's going to do it for Guven. All he needs to be is fast off the final corner. He spins it. The final corner. Vico's going to win off the final turn and beat Guven, who led this entire race.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page. ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an advanced sim racing customer.
Spa was once a monstrously fast run through the Belgian countryside on public roads, but it has since been shortened to the modern purpose-built circuit we see today. In contrast, the Nürburgring was built with racing in mind from day one and hasn't seen its incredible length cut down since. Either way, they're going to provide a challenge to our drivers as we get ready to watch round 4 of the PRL GT Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. First up tonight will be Spa and the MX-5s. Meant for slightly higher powered vehicles, let's take a glance at a track guide to find out about this place. Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. Less than an hour's drive east from the German border, this Belgian track has come to define racing for many different eras in the sport. It's no wonder it continues to entrance drivers when you look at the stats. The 7 kilometers over the course of a lap includes more than 330 feet in elevation change as it weaves its way through the Ardennes forest. Packed into this is 19 turns, some of which are considered among the most famous in the world of racing. Corners like La Source and Blanchemont have been on the lips of drivers for decades. But by far the most notorious is Eau Rouge and Rétillon. Typically referred to in name by just the first section, it dips low and swings left, then compresses and climbs to the right up a massive hill. The sequence ends with a completely blind crest that sweeps to the left and leads onto the incredibly long Kemmel Straight. The bravery required to be fast through there will pay off towards one of the most popular passing spots at Lacombe. Eau Rouge is exemplary of the rest of the circuit though. Most of the turns are incredibly fast and many include much of that signature elevation change. As jaw-dropping as the track is, you have to remember that this is the modern truncated layout. The old one, raced until 1979, was 14 kilometers in length, yet carried an average speed of 150 miles per hour. Present-day safety measures do cut down on the danger, but even in recent history, the circuit has proven deadly. It's clear why this track continues to be revered and respected by racers the world round. Well, DJ, it's not the first time on this channel we've seen MX-5s at Spa, but for those who haven't tuned into those, what can they expect?
Well, they can expect a mega slipstream paying into effect in a lot of tricky braking zones where you wouldn't normally see them in other classes of cars. These MX-5s don't really have any downforce, relying solely on mechanical grip, so you gotta kind of let off the gas a little bit coming up through Eau Rouge and Rétillon. Same with going down through No Name and Pouhon as well. It really creates some interesting braking zones, but as I said, the draft going to be absolutely mega around here, coming over the crest of Rétillon and down into Lacombe. Look for that to be a primary overtaking opportunity, and then another one going down through Blanchemont and into the bus stop.
And before we get to the racing itself, we do want to mention our sponsors, which includes ASR, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
And finally, the PRL GT Series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Now, as for the points after these first 3 rounds, a bit of an interesting situation because of our top 5 in the points here, only Ryan Kings has a win. Danny Cervantes on 0 wins, but an 8-point lead over Kelly Greenhoe. The Jose Gonzalez sitting there in 4th, and Michael Chase in the 5th. Jose Gonzalez in 3rd, rather, and Michael Chase in 4th, tied with Ryan Kings after Ryan finally got that win with an exciting race last round, coming right down to the line to decide it back at the Red Bull Ring. We also have a team's championship here, DJ, and how does that one sit?
Well, in that, hashtag not a team has a pretty sizable margin, despite the fact that they've only taken a single victory and 2 top 5s on the season. They have a 32-point gap over Road Warriors, with the Hacks, led by Danny Cervantes, about 9 points back from them. A relatively close battle for 3rd starting to develop between the Hacks and Oh God Right Turns, with Crikey No Brakes sitting about 13 points back from them. And 5-5 Motorsports, well, they're still in the hunt for that 5th place position as well.
As for today's race, it's another 35 minutes like we typically do in this round 4. And it is an open setup series. You heard DJ talk about that. Obviously, they can't try and worry about any sort of straight line speed, but grip in the corners will be critical, especially a very balanced car to be able to handle these long, fast turns. Now, the drive-through penalty at 13 and the disqualification at 17 will be a big talking point today, because the drivers have so many places on this track where you can go wide and pick up those incident points and not have to worry about crashing the car, because it's a lot of paved runoff on this modern F1 track. They also have some bonus points that you can rack up, including the fastest lap, 3 incidents or less, and then they're just getting ready to decide who will take the bonus for pole position, each of those worth 1 point, as they've started the qualifying session just now. And they are going to need all 15 of these minutes out here, especially not just because of the slipstream, but we're talking at 2+ minutes to try and circulate around this track, as the 38 is not having the best of times down through Speaker's Corner. So, DJ, I'm curious to see just how many they'll be able to get in here. I'd have to do the math real quick. I think it's only going to be something like 4 or 5 laps.
Yeah, it's really not much, Joe, and with all of this pack bunched up that you're seeing right now, it's really going to create a bit of a problem here. I think you've got to try to get the right timing absolutely perfectly. You don't want to be held up coming through the corners, but you want that car in front of you to be able to pick up the draft, so it's going to be very, very crucial to try to figure out where to slot your car around here in these big draft trains that you're seeing.
Got a little bit of wind. Hopefully it doesn't affect them too much out there today, as it's coming from the south right now, southeast really, at about 11 miles an hour. It has been gusting just a bit. There you can see it just drop down again. So that change could affect them as well, and especially if you get the draft at the right time. If it gusts up in your face and you get a car in front of you helping to break that flow. 84 Fahrenheit on the track itself, probably pretty ideal conditions. The other thing here, DJ, that is going to be different for those who have watched a lot of modern racing here, as you can see, they just went by the old pit straight. Well, that's what they're using today, because this is the classic version.
Yeah, it is indeed. So that means when you come out of the pits, you'll be exiting and cutting Eau Rouge and Radillon, coming out right there that you can see on your screen. And so what that means is that it'll be a little bit safer in terms of the rejoin, but you've really got to be pushing up that hill to try to get the car up to speed and rejoin on the track.
And there you can see that's where they come out of the pit lane, those lines off to the left-hand side, and right into the high-paced Kemmel straight down towards Lacombe here, where drivers are going to have to hit those brake markers as late as they dare to try and carry that momentum this car gets. You can see as we come through Malmedy, this is Cortina just leading Del Busto in the 86. Nobody's set a time yet because, like I said, it takes a long time to get around. They've finished the warm-up lap, but it's going to be close to 5 minutes before we see anybody actually setting one.
Yeah, with drivers coming out of pit lane, it took them just over 3 minutes to get around here. So about 2.5, 2:45 is going to be the times that we are looking at. I can tell you that the driver that we have our eyes on right now, Odise Adams Jr., the 22, he was fast in practice, and we've seen that car be very, very fast, but a little bit unreliable. Some driver error starting to sneak in a little bit over the course of the season. So Odise is going to hope to be able to minimize that here today and take maximum points away.
Adams has been one of those drivers that has been quick on his day, but definitely not as consistent this season, having that win in the opening round and then hasn't been able to get a good one since then. You didn't even see him in the top 5 in the points there. But obviously, I mentioned that we were missing our winners in those top 5 other than Kings, Odise, the other one, and then the last one is Richard Regan Jr., who is back once again, but he was not able to start the last round and has to count that as his drop week, unfortunately. So as we come around, again, this is not where the timing line is. They have to come around La Source and down the hill, and there you see King's going to be the first one to take a competitive time, although he went way wide coming through the La Source hairpin. So I'm not sure that this is going to be a great one, especially without a slipstream to help him across the line as they cross, and it's a 2:49.8 for Ryan Kings. Behind him, everybody streams through 2:48 for Odise, who now is on the provisional pole. Derek Green, about 4/10 behind him. But yeah, we're talking close to 3 minutes here, actually, for these drivers to be able to set a time. Richard Regan Jr., though, has now gone up to the provisional pole ahead of Bradley Hawley by a scant 17 thousandths.
Very, very close times, especially when you consider just how long this track is, Joe. A 2:48-minute lap, and that they are that close. Really remarkable. There you can see Holly kind of getting out of the way there for a couple of drivers. This is basically going to negate his lap. He'll try to get everything back onto temperature. There's Danny Cervantes, currently sat in third right now. Giancarlo Lenzi ahead of him right now. I don't believe Giancarlo has set a time down, and indeed he has not yet.
No, which is not good news for him. 2 laps now that have been deleted for Giancarlo, and he was 5th in the warm-up when I last looked. So the 0-2 is going to have a lot of hard work to do if he doesn't get a time on the board, and it's easy to delete those laps if you go wide at this track. We're missing about half the field who seems to have gone off on that first time round. So we watch through Puhan here. And out of that double apexer, that's the 2 Crikey No Brakes cars, Cabana and Larson, along with one another. Looks like they're playing some team tactics here, trying to help each other along. And Giancarlo is actually gaining on them enough. I think he's going to get a good effect as long as he isn't slowed up in the corners.
I think you're right there, and I think he's got probably about 3-4 car lengths in between them, so it should be just about right. If you are confident enough on the driver in front of you, you can kind of avoid that concertina effect as they come through the corners. So hopefully he'll be able to do it, although it looks like he is gaining quite a bit there.
Oh, they're pulling over.
Yep, they're getting out of the way.
Yeah, so they didn't want to hold him up, and Lenzi will get a clear lap. This could be a very good one, frankly, if he's as quick here as he was in the warm-up session. Got a couple more corners to go, though, down into the braking of the bus stop chicane. He still has to navigate through La Source. This looks nice and tidy so far. Car across the track in front of him. Oh, and he runs into him, and that causes a bigger pileup behind one of the Whataback cars. That was Goddard that he got into, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that was Cervantes that was collected in it as well. And with only about 6 minutes left to go in this session, they're going to have to go back out and reset, and they'll only get one more crack at the apple.
I have a feeling that might be a penalty for Goddard post-race, as they are asked not to hinder other cars, and he just kind of pulled right out into the way. So as we see them now come down to 5 minutes to go. Going to only have about 2 laps left to get a competitive time in. And in fact, Lindsay taking that damage means he's only going to get 1 shot, really, because there he is. He's coming back around to try to get on the flying lap.
Yeah, so this is really going to put his back up against the wall, and thankfully, this is a place where you can get plenty of overtaking done, but it's not exactly a place that you want to be put all the way back in the field. It's just you're asking yourself for a little bit of problems, especially with the classic start coming up on Rouge and Radillon on cold tires. It can really set you back, Joe.
While we wait for these drivers to get around for another lap, because we don't have many people coming across the line, let's take a quick look at our onboards today as Giancarlo Lenzi looks like he had a bit of a spin. Thankfully, it looks like nobody hit him, and he's able to carry on and get that fresh lap started. Here is our onboards, as we've got the likes of Regan Jr., Karakov, Greenhoe, Young, Holly, and Kalen joining us today, but it looks like I think that's Karakov on the bottom right that is missing currently. So, excuse me, though, that is Kelly Greenhoe, who has not showed up right now. So we'll see if he comes back out to join us as we look at them head through Fanyes. And then it's off into Stavelo. But Odise Adams Jr. currently holding the provisional pole by about 0.2 over Regan Jr. We didn't report on that. He managed to go quicker than the 46 last time by. And it is still a tight fight for that outside run on the front row, because Holly was not able to improve last time.
No, he was not, but he was able to get a nice little slipstream here, so it may be good times for Bradley Holly. He may be able to come back here, though. Looks like he probably won't have another lap to put in. Oh, Holly pulling it off to the side there. Going to let everybody go on by and try to re-rack for one more flying lap.
Yep, so Bradley Holly is effectively done for this qualifying unless he actually starts going from within the grass there, which he can technically, I suppose, if he really wants to. It's an interesting strategy to get out of everybody's way. As we head into the LaSource hairpin, Regan, can he go faster than Adams Jr.? It's the battle of the juniors as we come down to the timing line, and it's not looking like a good lap from what my timing screen shows. Let's see if that's accurate. And no, he does not go quicker. Looks like behind him, Danny Cervantes has his lap deleted, so that one doesn't count. But Bergquist improves, only goes to 14th, though, surprisingly low for the 64 car this late in the qualifying.
Yeah, that's not what I would have expected there out of Kevin. I would have expected him to get a little bit of a better lap there. Giancarlo Lenzi, who we continue to watch, still yet to set a time. This is going to be his first and only opportunity to get that lap down. Odise Adams Jr. coming out right ahead of him. Odise going to stick to the right there and let Lenzi on by.
So far, we've got 27 of our drivers with a time down. And the 0-2 doesn't really have a whole lot of help right now. That's Jose Gonzalez up the road by a couple seconds. Depending on his pace, he could catch up to him and feel a bit of that slipstream. But, oh, and someone was off into the side there. Anthony Cortina, for some reason, was in the barriers. Looks like he's going to be able to stay out of the way and not interrupt anybody's lap. But not sure what caused that one as we come down through Rivage. And Giancarlo has got to cross his fingers that this one stays clean, as someone is going to get out of the way in front of him. Gonzalez is not going to give him a slipstream. He pulls off to the side.
And maybe that's a little bit of team tactics. Maybe that's a little bit of courtesy there, as I think he really wanted to be giving the slipstream to his teammate Odise Adams Jr. As they work their way around. But Odise came out on this lap, so he's not going to be able to set a flyer down there, just out there to practice, it looks like.
Michael Chase just crossed the finish line, and he has not set a lap still. All 3 laps have been deleted for him, and he's one of the few out on track that doesn't have a time yet. So he's really got to focus on this one. Ian Cabana also finds his last lap taken away. So we come down into Stavelo. I see, ooh, Danny Duchesne is not having a good time today. He's down in 24th, and he's just finishing his lap. A single lap counted for him at a 250.7. That does not seem representative for the 27 car.
No, we've seen Danny have a lot more speed than that. I think the off track's probably just catching him out in that one lap that we saw him put down. A bit of a banker lap where he was deliberately going a little bit slower and careful not to pick up any off tracks.
Wonder if Kings is doing the same thing, because he's going to have one more shot at it too, as he is coming around. The 43 sits in 18th position. Unusual for a driver that just won on the previous race as he crosses. Oh, that one did not count. 12 seconds left, so he's able to start this one, and thankfully the driver pulls out of the way in front of him. Leziak did not hinder him, it looks like, probably distracted him at the very least. But Giancarlo Lenzi is going to be one of our first to take the checkered flag. So will he get a time? Let's hope that he's got one as he crosses the timing line. A 2:49.2 and a pretty decent time, but it's still only good enough for 14th. At least he'll be into the mid-pack as the rest stream across.
Yeah, and that's going to be a bit of a relief there to him, starting where he is. Stacey Hunter puts in a time that is 29th fastest right now. Waiting to see if anybody else is able to get in times there. Adise Adams Jr. on your screen. Like we said, not able to cross the line in time. He is just out there to get a little bit of extra practice, I think.
Karakov is coming down. He's down in 8th currently. So the 57, who has a good tow from Ken Cook, actually, might have a quick one. No, he is just off by about 0.2 on that lap. Next one across the line is going to be Michael Chase, who I mentioned really needs this one, or else he'll be starting from the tail end of this field, 30th or beyond. And down the Grand Prix start-finish straight, he'll cycle his way past the now famous Lasource hairpin. In fact, has been a part of this track since the very beginning and has become quite iconic, even though it's not quite as famous as the Corner Eau Rouge that follows it. Let's see what the 34 has got underneath him. A 2:49.0. That's pretty decent. That'll put him into 12th, actually.
If I were him, I would be very, very happy with that lap, waiting for a few more drivers to come across the line now. Ian Cabana, is that 18th place car going to be able to improve? It doesn't look like it. He will stay in that 18th place.
I think Ryan King's going to be our next, and I think potentially our last one to be able to cross the line. Yep, he is going to be the last driver able to set a lap. Let's see if he likes it enough to try it, or is he going to park it after this? It looks like it is decent. It's close to his best time, hovering at just about 1 to 2 tenths below it. The 43 sitting in 20th place could still come through to win this one from there. It'll be a very difficult task, but slipstream battles at this place allow you to make up a lot of positions sometimes. As he comes around the source, he's going to stick with it. He's not heading towards the pit entry. And it's still at about 1/10 quicker, so it's not going to be a huge improvement. If he does, 2:49.3, he's up to 16th. Still not sure what is plaguing Ryan Kings today.
We've seen him be a little bit off the pace in qualifying the past couple of rounds, Joe, but not to this extreme. King's just looking like he is not able to extract the maximum over one lap pace.
Well, we will keep an eye on him, see if he can do better in the race proper. But let's go through, or actually before we go through our starting order, excuse me, let's head to our sponsor for the channel, the Majors Garage, Coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking on our link in the description below. Also, if you use our special discount code, Majors GSRC, you'll get 10% off. Now we can go through our starting grid, and Adise Adams Jr. again showing what a threat that 22 car is, starting from the pole, but Richard Regan's going to try and be the first to repeat on the winner's step of the podium. Bradley Holly still winless this season. Could he change that, as he was close last race, but was held up out of the final corner by that strange incident with fuel running out for cars around him. Danny Cervantes will start from P4, and Kelly Greenhoe will be in 5th. Guillaume Povin will be in 6th position, and Jose Gonzalez starts on the inside of the next row. Brett Karakov is in P8. Derek Green starts 9th. Then you've got Austin Bartlett Chase rounding out your top 10.
Starting off in 11th, it's going to be Mark Kalin, followed by Michael Chaith with Zibanji Babinet and Paolo Coimbra behind them. Giancarlo Lenzi will line up in 15th. To the outside of him, it'll be Ryan Kings with Kevin Berquist and Ryan Scott in row 9. 19th will be Ian Cabana, and Daniel Del Busto will round out your top 20.
Jason Larson, good enough for 21st, will be flanked by Anthony Cortina. Christian Leziak starts from 23rd, and Andrew Venaro in 24th. And it's Simon Doyle in the 25th spot. Malcolm Foster starts 26th, and Danny Duchesne 27th. Andy Steiber will be the next one in the 28th position. Ken Cook 29th, and Stacy Hunter, last one to set a time in 30th. Goddard, Young, and Bear start at the back of the field. I'm guessing, hoping to avoid some of the potential problems in this field that could arise at the start. It might not be into La Source, but is still fraught with peril, as we only need Jose Gonzalez to grid up, and then we're ready to go for round 4 for the MX-5 Cup Series, and it looks like Gonzalez is out there. So the engines start to rev as the lights come up here in Belgium. And the green flag is out. Ooh, it's not a good start off the line there from Richard Regan Jr. at first. He starts to get it going finally. Holly is trying to keep Cervantes and Greenhoe behind him. Looks like they're going to go single file up into the Eau Rouge and Radillon sequence. Behind them, little bit of 2 wide, some almost 3 wide as they come over the crest.
Careful, boys. You don't want to be doing that on cold tires, but up front, here comes that draft train. Here's a big push from Bradley Holly on Richard Regan Jr. Big hit in the back. We've got a massive kerfluffle.
Oh, let's hope they stay off the track proper. No, somebody else got picked up by it. Team Hurricane, unfortunately, it looks like. And is that Giancarlo Lenzi? Yes, indeed. He got picked up again by that wreck at the start. Just no luck for him, but Regan Jr. is now ahead of Odis Adams Jr. Bradley Holly stays in third, though. They start to run away from Cervantes, who's got his own battles from those behind.
Yes, indeed, he does. That's Povin and Greenhoe trying to look around there. We've got another spinner going around. I believe that was Derek Green. Ooh, bad corner there for Richard Regan Jr. He's going to fall off that leading pack.
Don't know what happened there. He must have sent it in way too deep, as that allows Adams and Holly to start to pull away. Cervantes is not able to try and attack on him, but here comes Greenhoe hoping to do something on Povin, and Povin nearly tucks it underneath Cervantes. Thankfully, nobody wrecking amongst them. That is a sketchy corner for those sort of moves. Adam Young, in the meantime, looks like he has spun out of Speaker's corner and is facing the wrong way as we come down into Fanny's now. Look at this side-by-side racing between Greenhoe and Povin, with Guillaume winning out.
Yeah, and I think Duchesne and Foster may have had an issue as well behind. Lots of issues on this opening lap. A little bit of a dive there going down into Stavlo. I think that was contact there between the two.
Oh, they are racing hard for the first lap of this race, and they're just going to lose time. Oh, a big catch there from Mark Kalin. How in the world did he hold on to that car? He did slow up a lot of people behind him. Karakov had to get out of it, and Babinet's going to capitalize.
And I think Mark knows it. You can see a little bit of a smile there on his face. He knew just how close to disaster that one was, but he's now got to hold off Karakov, as you've said. But Karakov looking very, very strong going into the bus stop. He's going to have to go the long way around, though.
So watch them break coming down into the chicane, little side-by-side between them, and they almost get into the back of those dueling cars. Thankfully, looks like everybody's going to be able to come out the other side. This is not exactly the start that I figured we'd have to this race.
Nor I. It is fast and it is furious, Joe, but Odis Adams Jr. continues to lead from the pole. Bradley Holly there trying to close in behind. Richard Regan Jr. trying to regain that 0.8 of a second that he lost through that mistake coming down through Malmedy and Brussels. We've got another car around that. I think that's Michael Chase.
It is. He got tipped around by Berquist in the 64, unfortunately, and looks like he came back in traffic a little bit. That might get him a protest post-race himself. Seems like drivers have been having a tough time keeping it clean out there, as Adams is getting a big shove from Holly. He does not want Regan to catch up to him, but I think his old rival has got a big enough slipstream. As by the time they hit the brakes, he is right there, and he's pulled Cervantes with him.
Yeah, he certainly has. And once again, some of the NASCAR tactics that we've seen here starting to come to the fore in this MX-5 series. A little bit of bump drafting there down the long Kemmel Straight. I bet you thought that was a phrase you'd never hear.
Yeah, exactly. But it seems that continuing to insist on those NASCAR tactics, Bradley Holly not abandoning his faith in that quite yet. He continues to chase Adams Jr. as Regan has caught them. Cervantes has caught them. Povin looks like he might be able to catch up and bring Greenhoe with them as well. So getting rid of the draft is not going to be an easy task today. We could see this train stay pretty large for quite a long ways into the race.
Yeah, indeed, Joe. You really have to keep it between about a second to 1.2 seconds to be able to get a maximum of that draft. The first driver to be out of that distance is Mark Kalin. He's about 1.5 behind Kelly Greenhoe. He will not be picking that up, I think, as they work their way out of Stavolo and Compass.
A little wide here in front of this battle that we're watching. I saw Povin, unfortunately, go a little too hard into there. And as he now comes out of Stavolo, Greenhoe is going to try and use that slipstream to see if he can tuck up behind. Not sure if he wants to battle at this stage. So many of the drivers so willing to battle, and yet they could lose themselves that valuable slipstream before they know it. And we're only going to see, I think it's about 12 laps around here as well. It's not going to be very many since it takes so long and it's only a 35-minute race. But look at this. No attack from Bradley Holly. Oh, maybe a late attack as he shows his nose down into the chicane. He cuts back, doesn't quite make the apex, but also doesn't lose touch with the 22.
No, he's going to stay close behind, but he did lose a little bit of time back to Richard Regan Jr. And now Danny Cervantes looking very, very threatening there as well. We ride on board with the 46 of Regan Jr. You can see him shifting down into the corner here, trying to close up behind Bradley Holly to the best of his abilities.
Accelerating their way down the hill into Eau Rouge here, just above the creek, where it dips into a valley and then rises right back up. As you can see, this is going to be a huge tow for those behind because Regan is all over the back of him, but that looked like a bit of a lift. Another push from Holly. Cervantes is going to try and push on Regan Jr. as well. And I'm surprised some of them aren't trying to maybe save a bit more fuel sitting behind, as we got a battle between Greenhoe and Povin, but Greenhoe also lifts before the corner.
Yeah, and you can see that just sort of jockeying under braking. Ooh, Povin looking a little bit aggressive there, maybe trying to get down to the inside of Danny Cervantes. Certainly that car having a little bit of better bite off of the corner, it looks like.
If I'm that 12 car, I am lifting like crazy right now because he's at the back of 6 cars. He surely has to be able to save a huge chunk of fuel here and has a ways before we get to those pit stops. So it could be that he is sitting in the catbird seat if he just plays his cards right. So we head into the Pouan double apexer once again. Looks like Povin is going to try and overtake on Cervantes, who watched from Greenhoe's camera as he takes it around the corner and can see them side by side, wishing that they would settle that out sooner rather than later. And it looks like it's going to go wheel to wheel all the way through the Faneuil chicane, and in fact carries on after.
Very, very close between the two. I can't believe they're still side by side. Cervantes, a little bit of contact between himself and Povin. They're gonna bang doors, come out okay on the other side. Kelly Greenhoe checks himself up there, doesn't want to go for the move coming out of Stavolo.
So this backs them up significantly, and Regan Jr.'s got a whole 1.5 seconds. They got to be careful about this. All this door-to-door is allowing the top 3 to put some air between themselves and the rest of the field. Meanwhile, we head towards the braking into the bus stop chicane, and there's still no attack from any of those top 3. They stay in a line while behind them, Greenhoe does try and take a look on Cervantes, can't quite get through. Look at the 2x2 behind them. That is Mark Kalin, along with Karakov, Coimbra, and Babinet.
Yeah, Babinet, the one that's going to carry on that side-by-side between himself and the 65 of Coimbra. And he's going to have a nose ahead as they go down into La Source. But sometimes you can carry a little bit more speed around the outside. That's a very narrow line there for him. And it looks like Coimbra's going to get that over-under perfectly.
Evany just sent it way too deep into that corner and sailed off to the outside of the turn. So Gonzalez is able to get a spot, and looks like Bergquist, it was thinking about it, but then decided it's better to back out. Up and over Radion and down the Kimmel straight. He'll get a nice little toe, but will he do anything with it?
Well, that'll be the question if he's able to build the momentum. He's also got to watch out from behind because that's Kevin Bergquist looking good on Babinet. That's the 57 of Karakov popping out on Mark Kalin. It's going to be a battle of the late breakers going down into Lake Combe. Looks like Kalin's going to have the preferred line for the second part of that chicane, and he's going to stay ahead.
But just barely. Look at how close behind Brett is on Mark Kalin. Boy, all of our cams today have been hovering around the front here and been giving us some incredible views as he steers it down into Rivage. Look at how much steering lock he's put into it, though.
Yeah, he's really having to wheel that car around. Whoa!
Big moment coming down through X corner, and unfortunately, that cost him a lot of time, but he caught it before he went off into the runoff, so I think he's good from here. In the meantime, the drivers out of Pouhon have seen a distance of about 1 second from Povin to Regan. Guillaume is starting to catch up, and I think he's actually back within the slipstream proper now, so he might have saved everybody's bacon by bridging that gap that started to form.
Yeah, certainly has. And a little bit of that side-by-side battle continuing behind him there between Cervantes and Greenhoe, but I think Kelly Greenhoe knows he doesn't want to push too hard here, wants to try to keep up behind and make sure that no losing of that gap occurs.
Absolutely. He's got to try and work together a little bit with Cervantes at this stage to make sure they don't lose touch. We're at 24 minutes in, so now past the first 10 minutes of this race. We could see drivers pit this time by if they wanted an early strategy. Most likely we'll see more of them wait until later, and that is deep for Bradley Holly. Very, very deep. Regan Jr. is put off by that, and that allows Povin to almost have a chance to get through. He doesn't get the launch off the corner. He'll fall back into fourth once again. Defensive move this time from Adams, and now back to the racing line, but that group that had broken up has come back together.
Indeed, they have all pulled back together here. Your top six running line astern. Very, very close. A little bit of a look there for Bradley Holly as they come their way towards Eau Rouge. And I believe that's going to be some lap traffic up ahead of them, believe it or not. That's Austin Bartlett Chase, who's been able to get in and back out. That could create a little bit of a situation.
Well, it depends on what they want to do here. If we get a 3 wide, yeah, that'll definitely make a situation, but they could probably handle going by him 2 wide. And Guillaume has no interest in playing the game these guys are. He is going right to the front, or at least he thinks he is. He's almost got him. He's got a nose ahead, but he's going to have to be brave on the brakes as Adams tries to fight back, and it's not over. Coming out of the Lacombe chicane behind him, there goes Bradley Holly. He tries to get his P2 back, just about has it, and he's going to be to the inside coming down into Rivage. Behind them, there goes Greenhoe on past Cervantes. And I think, do we have to give up the ghost? No, Guillaume is still side by side.
And if I'm Bradley Holly, I am not happy with that at all, as that gap that I have been keeping millimeters small to Odisse Adams Jr. has now expanded up to about 0.6 of a second with that move from Guillaume Povin. So now he is going to have to work with Povin to try to gain that back in.
Well, it looks to me like that 649 is motivated today, because that was an incredible move to use that slingshot all the way up to nearly taking first and winding up with second after a little bit of a struggle to hold on to it. And there's a big mistake from Adams. Odisse offline through the Fagny chicane. Povin's going to try and take advantage. That slows both of them up, and this could help Holly maybe get up to the lead for the first time this race.
It could indeed, but he's going to have to clear Povin first, as we've got a little bit of all over the place here happening. Richard Regan Jr. trying to tuck up behind his partner there, Bradley Holly, to see if they can get by Povin, getting ready for Blanchimont.
Oh, and I was going to say, please don't squeeze him off into the grass. Thankfully, everybody gives just enough room. But the only change in there was that Povin fell to fourth. Regan back up into P3. Greenhoe, though, sees all that's going on as a big wiggle from Cervantes under braking. Almost costs him many spots, but he caught it in time. And instead, Povin, who almost was under attack from Cervantes, starts to fight back, and they're getting more friends involved. Karakov is catching. Kalen is being pulled up along with it. Coimbra and Gonzalez. We could have the top 10 here in a line.
We certainly could. This is becoming an absolute gaggle of cars at the front. Oh, I think that's a move. Oh, no, that's Odisse Adams Jr. coming down pit lane.
And I think this might be the right call. I think everything that's going on here, if you are one of the faster cars, which considering he sat on pole, that's a good bet. I think he's going to try and get himself clear air and could come back out looking fine and dandy. Although Greenhoe pitted with him. So Greenhoe might be pulled along by the pole sitter here as we watch the top cars fly into Lacombe, and this time it'll be Holly leading Regan Jr., leading Cervantes.
Indeed it will, and relatively calm here, especially compared to what we've seen the last couple of laps as they dive into Lacombe, working their way around the corner. They're snaking their way through Malmedy. It looks like Povin is still trying to be very aggressive on Danny Cervantes, but just can't find the room and the speed.
Remember what I said about Greenhoe using that lifting and coasting quite a bit, considering how many cars he had towing him? He was 2 seconds quicker in the pit stall compared to Adams Jr. So Greenhoe is honestly looking very good at this point and is still right on the back of the 22. Although they came out in a little bit of traffic. Stacy Hunter in front of them is already costing them some time. Meanwhile, our drivers that continued on here down through Puhan have got, looks like, it goes all the way down to Gonzalez in P8. So still 8 cars flowing in a line at the front of the field.
Yeah, and after that, it's Kevin Berquist, who's only about 1.1 seconds behind, so he certainly is able to catch into this group if they continue to squabble a little bit. But I think drivers are starting to get the memo that you've got to just calm it down here a little bit, especially at the front between Holly and Regan Jr. Although I definitely think here that Guillaume Povin is going to be wanting to have a bit of a move here on Danny Cervantes. He's looking very aggressive.
Yeah, Guillaume's been, I'd say, the most aggressive of this entire group during this first half of the race. So if anybody's going to try and have a go at things, it's likely going to be him, but you never know. Coming down into the bus stop, one of the heaviest braking zones on the track. No, nobody even actually managed to get side by side on that one. But now the question is, who will follow suit? Who will decide that because the leader came in, might as well try and cover them off and head in with them?
Well, we'll have to see a little bit of side-by-side there in the back between Povin and Karakov. Looks like Povin's going to be able to hold that out. Karakov trying to carry some momentum around the high side. I see a bunch of drivers diving for pit lane. Indeed, Holly, Regan, Cervantes, Karakov stays out, and Coimbra stays out. That's the only 2 out of that leading pack.
Interesting. So everybody responding, and I don't think that is the end of the pit window. We'll see how many drivers also come in after this, because if it's exactly halfway, well, there's still some others. Woo. As behind them, there was a close moment with Andy Steiber almost having an embarrassing run into the pit retaining wall, as we watch to see how these drivers return to the track. Adams Jr.'s just heading around La Source. Greenhoe is right on his heels. They still have who's in front of them. Looks like Adam Young actually in front of him as our other drivers now start to take off. And there you can see that is our trio of Adam Young, Adams Jr., and Greenhoe. And out onto the track. Wow. Regan is miles ahead. That was no way. Regan did a 7-second stop. Something's got to be wrong here.
His math has got to be off. I mean, he was riding in third for the majority of that run and would have been able to do a whole lot of fuel saving. But having the pit stop like that, Joe, that throws up a little bit of a red flag for me here.
I was trying to rack my brains to think of what could it be. And one thing that came to mind was if maybe he thinks it's going to be going a lap shorter than everybody else anticipates, but that wouldn't be a full half time difference between himself and all of his competitors in terms of refueling. So yeah, I expect we'll see him back in pit lane, if not this time by later on in the race. And especially considering he doesn't have anybody to slipstream behind right now, if it is going to be close, as we wait for the rest of the drivers to pit in this time. They're jumping back a little bit. This is Bradley Holly chasing Mark Kalin now. And that is the battle for the lead of the others who did take a more traditional amount of fuel on that pit stop.
Yeah, indeed. And I want to give credit here to Mark Kalin. He was able to save some fuel there and come in only a 15-second stop. That's one of the shorter ones we've seen. He and Kelly Greenhoe both taking a very, very quick stop. So that could come out potentially big. Having to be a little bit careful there was Odisse Adams Jr. Always wanted to follow that adage, never push the pusher. He almost gave a little bit of a shove there to Bradley Holly.
Watching the rest of our drivers, expecting most of them to be pitting in this time unless they are really light on that right foot. Yep, Karakov is in. Coimbra's in. Bergquist. Looks like Larson pitting in. Ryan Scott. So we should see just about half a dozen more pitting in this time. There goes Steiber and Del Busto. Michael Chase pitting. Ian Cabana is a lap down. He's already taken his stop. Goddard is in. Richard Regan Jr. going to be the next one by. He's already stopped. Let's see if he does dive back in. Yes. Yeah, there it is right there.
Must have just mismanaged the fuel there. What a heartbreak for Richard Regan Jr.
So this will give us a much better sense of the situation on the fuel. And the strategy is you can see them, wow, coming down in the lane. And, oh, Karakov coming along. He is out very, very well. In fact, he's going to be right with him, but he won't have the speed. There you see him past the blue line, past the blue cone. He's got the track position, but he does not have the pace. And it looks like Kalin, will he get boxed in? No, he's going to find an opening, splitting the middle. And after all is said and done, Kalin will be our leader, or at least second place, as he breaks down into Lacombe. Almost overshot the corner. It'll be Odisse Adams Jr. behind him and Greenhoe in third, but we're waiting on David Hebert, who is the only driver other than Adam Young to make it to lap 8 without a stop.
And Joe, important here to know, David Hebert is a fair amount slower than these drivers. I mean, everybody else running about a 250. He's running about a 252. He's 4 seconds up the road, but if he makes a mistake, that could put him into the firing line of this battle for the lead pack.
The last thing he probably wants to do right now is get involved in that and cause them problems or potentially decide the race. We still have, it looks like 30 drivers out on track currently. So despite that big opening wreck, we haven't seen much in the way of drivers hitting anything or anyone and getting race-ending damage. So big kudos to everybody involved at a slipstream track where you can see the road racing version of the big one. And they've avoided that sort of huge tangle as they come out of Stavolo, and it is still Kalin leading this pack.
Yes, it is, but maybe not for too long. That's Odisse Adams Jr. taking a big look to the outside, trying to see if there is anything. He's going to have a little bit of an inside line coming down into that left-handed kink before Blanchimont. They're going to be side by side down into that left-handed sweeper.
Through Blanchimont, it looks like Adams might have the lead, but no, fighting back. Mark Kalin, great momentum there. He's going to look to be deep on the brakes down into the chicane. So we ride on board with Greenhoe and watch his cam. He is going to go and be sneaky, try to undercut, see if he can take both of them. But no, the outside line through the second apex is the place to be, it looks like.
Yeah, it does carry that momentum. They've got to be a little bit careful here. Kelly Greenhoe doesn't want to get too boxed in on this corner. Everybody breaking down. Kalen having a little bit of a tighter line. That could be an opportunity for a crossover. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. They're going to stay 1, 2, 3.
So crossing this time by with just under 3 minutes a lap, and David Hebert finally in pit lane to officially give Adams Jr. the lead once again. We're looking at, I think, about 4 laps here.
I think that's about right. Now, that is Austin Bartlett Chase, a lapped car that this quintet is going to work its way past as they go fanning out 3 wide for the lead.
Oh, boy, here we go. This might not end well. Those back behind them. Oh, and Adams backs out of it. Big time braked way earlier than the other two. And Kalen will once again get that top spot back. Kelly Greenhoe into second with Bradley Holly now snatching 3rd place from Odis, who wasn't paying attention to how close those behind were.
No, indeed. And look who's been able to insert himself back into that conversation. That's Guillaume Povin there in that blue and yellow machine. So he rides around in 5th, stealing that position away from Brett Karakov.
This is still wide open. Everybody you see within at least a second of one another in this top group could use that slipstream to fight for the win. This goes down to, it looks like, 6th position. They do have a 7th car that you can see, but the yellow and black number 17 belongs to Bartlett Chase. So that's not for position. He's just trying to cruise around and get some bonus points and maybe see if he can pick up those who wreck out, which might be one of these as hard as they've been fighting since the drop of the green in the top 10.
Yeah, indeed. And all right, Joe, here's a little bit of, let's call it tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, potentially. We've got the 2 drivers in the lead right now, Mark Kalen and Kelly Greenhoe. Their stops were about 3 to 4 seconds shorter than everybody else. Could we see another fuel-limited race here if this race ends up going a lap longer than anticipated, where they run out of fuel?
And I believe that's what happened last time we visited here in the MX-5s, did it not? I think Ryan King's short-fueled it on that one. So, oh, and a move to the outside from 2 different cars, Povin and Kalen. And we ride on board with Karakov watching. I don't know how you make sense of all this and know where to place your car in the heat of the moment, but they've worked it out this far.
They have indeed, and you were right, Joe. It was Ryan Kings that ran out. He started sputtering around Blanchimont. Whoa, almost a little contact there with Odis Adams Jr.
Oh, wow. Just about shoved him through the corner for a brief moment. They're giving each other no space, and that could so easily unfold. Speaking of Ryan Kings having a bad day here, he really has. He's going to take a 32nd place finish for today's race. That will once again hurt his chances, but as we wait to see who comes out the winner, let's see, how many have we had take wins in this top group? As once again, looks like Bradley Holly is going to challenge, and he's just about passed into the braking of Lacombe. Oh, this looks like Greenhoe's going to make him work for it. No, he can't hold on quite. Oh, no, it's too deep for Bradley Holly. Off into the gravel. Thankfully, does not spin the car with that one, but as they come out of Malmedy, this has checked everybody up.
Yes, it has. A big fan out there, almost 3 wide as they come down through Bruxelles, trying to see what it is. There's going to be Kelly Greenhoe trying to hold it out, but now down into no name. Is this Guillaume Povin going to have a little bit of a move? He's got to be careful not to pit maneuver, and he does it. They somehow stay clean.
The only driver in this top group that has won a race this season is the 22 machine. Everybody else is looking for that first win, side by side in front of Adams, as Povin still fighting with just hands swinging at this point over Mark Kalen, who is going to box in the 22 next to him, not trying to allow him to have a good chance to try and take that spot away. Oh, and they almost make contact down through Fanyes, thankfully keep away from each other enough.
Yeah, and they're almost side by side as they come down through Compass right now and down through the right-handed sweeper of Stablo. Let's see who's going to be able to take it. It looks like Cervantes is going to have the momentum. Whoa, Odis Adams Jr. taking that car to the absolute limits of adhesion.
Unbelievable stuff here. 6.5 minutes left to go. And if we cross at 5:40 left, then that means it's going to be 2 laps. Above that, it is going to be 3 laps left down into the braking of the bus stop chicane. Holly holds the track position. Oh, Povin almost gets into the back of Greenhoe. Way deep for Kalen. He's going to have to hope that doesn't cost him too much time because he's already losing out in wheel spin for Adams Jr. Definitely costs him.
Yeah, it certainly does, and all that squabbling, there's a little bit of a gap now. Mark Kalen 1.1 seconds behind Povin in that group up front for P1.
Ooh, this is going to be extremely close. If anybody cut it tight on fuel, they might be regretting things in a moment, because I said the magic number was 540. We're going to be crossing at 541. Oh my goodness. They're running 250 laps here. So, what? I have no idea how this one is going to play.
Neither do I. And the 2 drivers to watch with that, remember, Kelly Greenhoe and Mark Kalen. Those are the 2 drivers that have the shortest fuel stops. So if anybody is going to have fuel problems, it is most likely going to be either the 12 or the 62.
Karakov waiting behind Kalen and Adams Jr. side by side down into Lacombe. Adams trying to scrounge back up to that front group. Now that he's cleared them, he's got to make up a 1.5 seconds. They fought a little too much back there.
Yeah, they did, and that's what I was talking about earlier. There in the back, you can see Babinet trying to make a lead, or excuse me, that's Gonzalez trying to make a little bit of a move on Kalen, but Kalen shuts the door, and now Odis Adams Jr. starting to pull away here a little bit. He's got a 0.6 of advantage over Karakov.
And behind this group, Cervantes unfortunately lost out. He was a part of that front group early on and has lost 4 positions. Might have to settle for 8th unless we get some wrecks at the end if it gets too feisty up at the front, which frankly, I would not put it past these drivers. I think the elbows are going to be out.
I think they are as well, Joe. Specifically, Guillaume Povin. We've seen a lot of aggression out of the 649, and I would not be surprised if we see him go all out in these closing laps.
Through Stavolo, this is going to be decisive when they get to that start-finish line. We still have, it looks like, 29 cars still out on the circuit right now. We've lost Steiber and Goddard. Cabana and Cortina, multiple laps down, have had to come in and take repairs, return to the track, hoping to get what they can from those who have had misfortune. Meanwhile, Povin watching the back of Greenhoe going wide and fancying a chance to maybe try an attack here.
He's gonna, oh, he gets into the back of Bradley Hawley there. A little bit of contact. That's gonna allow for Kelly Greenhoe to get up in the lead. And now Odis Adams Jr. has been able to fully catch this pack, as has Brett Karakov.
Ooh, I wonder what kind of damage that put on Povin too. Trying to take a look at his car on my screen, and I think he got away with it. I don't see damage on the nose. Now, that could have been critical, because if he's slow in a straight line, he's going to be a sitting duck in these last laps. As they come down to it, what's it going to be as they cross 254? Yes, 2 laps to go here by my estimations for our drivers. Kelly Greenhoe crossed with just enough. Who put enough fuel in?
Oh, dearie dear, Joe, here it is, but here comes a move from Odis Adams Jr. Little bit of a block there from Guillaume Povin. That may not be favorable for the stewards, but we're 3 wide.
I wonder if they think this is the last lap. I think they're going for it like it is. And Povin is going to get up into 2nd place. That was a pretty savvy move. In fact, he's going to try and outbrake for the lead as he goes clear past Greenhoe and is able to, for the first time, I believe, lead this race.
I think it's the first time he has led in this PRL MX5 series, Joe. A great move there for Guillaume Povin.
So, a driver starting this race from 6th position, up 5 now to try and see if he can steal this win. And behind them, a lot of drivers are fighting as well. I'm wondering if the others aren't aware that this won't be the white flag lap either, at least by our estimations. Down into Puhan. Povin still holding out, and Greenhoe looking like he's struggling a little bit. Adams Jr. has been looking side to side. In fact, he takes another peek coming down into Fanyes.
Remember, Greenhoe, one of those cars that was a little bit short on the pit stop. Does he recognize that there's one more lap to go and he's trying to eke out those last couple of microliters of fuel? Oh, car around in the back.
And I think that was Green and Young here. Yep, that is down through Lacombe, having a bit of an issue. And they came together. They also collected Bartlett Chase in the process, who was a lap down. So his day just got a little bit worse. Back to our leaders once again, up to Blanchimont. We believe this is not the last lap, but we could be wrong. Let's keep an eye on it as they come up to Blanchimont. If it is the last lap, these are going to be the last couple corners to try and attack on.
Yes, it will. And does anybody try to make that move? It looks like Kelly Greenhoe is going to be certainly going for it on Guillaume Povin right now. He's going to have to go the long way around, though, Joe.
They're racing like they think it's the last one. Povin goes deep, though. That could hurt him. The cutback from Greenhoe. Can he get the launch off the corner? He does, but it's going to be side by side. It could be the end. They've held each other up quite a bit on this lap as they fly towards La Source. Greenhoe will have to go the long way around, but we don't know if this is going to be for the win or not until we get down to the line as they round the corner. Could we get 3 wide for them as they fly towards it? It's 9 seconds left, 7 seconds left as Greenhoe is leading to the line, and 1-0 white flag. They go one more time around.
Oh my goodness gracious, Joe. Now it's not only a battle of aggression, but it is a battle of fuel. Who's been able to save a little bit here? And there is Bradley Holly looking very fierce in P3.
That could not have been any closer. 0 as they cross the line, and now they start to scatter. They know it's for real this time, and I think that's Adams Jr. who's got a good shot, and he goes up the middle, 3 wide into Lacombe. Is he going to be able to take the lead? Yes, he's got it.
Wow, talk about a move there from Adams Jr., really threading the needle in between the two. Now everybody trying to get a little bit of single file contact there between Povin and Greenhoe.
Remember, Adams is the only one that is able to take a repeat win this season in this group. Everybody else looking for the first one in Season 2. As they fly down towards No Name, it looks like Adams is now starting to pull ahead. Are there drivers that are realizing they're short now?
It could very well be, but it looks like the closest threat to him here is going to be Kelly Greenhoe. A little bit of a pop in the back there for Jose Gonzalez. He's going to be trying to take a look on Karakov.
Around and through Puhan, side by side with Karakov and Gonzalez. Gonzalez having to slow up, and Mark Kalin's caught this group as well. As, oh, well, there goes Povin. Oh, and he slides almost into the side of Bradley Holly. Thankfully, does not make contact. They want to catch back up to Adams and Greenhoe, but I don't know if they have enough this late in the game. It'll depend on how they fight coming into the final chicane into La Source. Oh, and a big moment there. I think that was Karakov having a problem.
I think it was as well, and that's going to allow for the 83 there of Gonzalez to be able to secure that position. Up front, though, looking around there a little bit more, trying to see if Karakov can have anything.
Ooh, Adams is being caught. Greenhoe might have a good chance, but the question is, does he want to try it here or later? He wants to try it here. Defensive move from Odis Adams Jr. holds the inside. He needs the best exit of his life coming out of this turn, and it looks pretty solid. Greenhoe could maybe try and do one last dive down into La Source, and I would not put it past him. The 22 not defending. There's a nose from the 12. Breaks as deep as he can go, but it's too deep. As they come off the corner, it looks like this one is going to go to Odis Adams Jr., taking his second win of the season here at Spa.
My goodness gracious, Joe. Odis Adams Jr., Kelly Greenhoe, Bradley Holly crossing the line. Throw a blanket over those three.
Wow. Top three, yeah, 7/10 apart at the line as yet more cars are all battling to the finish. Some of them looking like they are quite slow. I got to think that they are out of fuel, including Simon Doyle there in the black car, who thankfully has downhill to run before he gets to the finish line, side by side between Regan and Del Busto, as Del Busto finishes in 13th ahead of Richard. And it looks like of our drivers still racing, Derek Green is going to be the last one on the lead lap in the 24th position. But that is going to take us to our results as Simon does.
And that will take us to our results there. As we said, Odise Adams Jr. able to take the victory. Kelly Greenhoe coming home in second. Bradley Holly third. Guillaume Povin fourth. And Jose Gonzalez in fifth. Brett Karakov able to take sixth, followed by Paula Coimbra with Evanji Babine in eighth. Danny Cervantes ninth. And Jason Larson 10th.
From then in 11th, it is Ryan Scott with Michael Chase in 12th. Daniel Del Busto P13. You've got Richard Regan Jr. in the 14th position, Christian Lesiak in 15th, and Andrew Venaro in the 16th spot. Simon Doyle had to settle for 17th. Could have been many positions up, but just didn't fuel enough. Ken Cook was 18th, David Hebert 19th, and Bergquist was 20th.
In 21st, it was Adam Young, followed by Stacy Hunter with Derek Green and Mark Kalin a lap down. Giancarlo Lenzi also a lap down with Austin Bartlett Chase. Malcolm Foster rounding out your drivers to finish there. Ian Cabana, Cortina, Steiber, Goddard, Duchesne, and Kings, all DNFs on the day.
And as we now take a chat with our second place finisher, Kelly Greenhoe, who gave us quite a bit of excitement out there and also was one of those with a lot shorter fuel stop. I'm very curious to see what the 12 did in terms of fuel, because Kelly, it was a fight all the way to the finish, but you guys crossed with 0 seconds left when you got the white flag. So how close were you? Because you were one of the few that put only 15 seconds in the stop from what we saw.
Yeah, I didn't even notice the crossing the line at 0 until you just said something. I knew I was close. I put in only 2 gallons. That's what crew chief said. I was lucky enough to just kind of hang out. I was in like 5th or 6th for like the whole first half of the race until the stops. Decided to dip out a little bit early like I typically do. And yeah, it was another great race. I did it all with 0x too. Didn't even notice.
Still can't seem to get that elusive win this season, but another valuable second place to help you in the points fight, especially over Cervantes, who is well behind you here today. Do you take this one with a positive result, or is it frustrating not to be standing on the top step?
To be honest, Spa's not my best. After that start, I was happy to just be up in that lead pack. I figured there'd be some banging doors and I might pick up a few freebies. Of course, being that close, it definitely hurts. I'll get one of these days, I promise. But no, I'll take those points all day for me and my teammate, Christian. He's getting much improved back there as well. I'm not sure how he finished. I'll have to take a look. But yeah, happy to grab some points.
Well, congratulations on second place. Anybody you want to thank for today's podium?
Thanks to you guys, as always. I cannot believe the quality of broadcast you guys keep pumping out. Thanks to PRL. Thanks to the boys that we battled with, or that I was battling with. My teammate Christian, and got to give a shout out to the other boys over at Apex this.
That was Kelly Greenhoe in the number 12 taking P2. DJ has caught up with our winner, Odise Adams Jr.
I have indeed. And Odise, I have to ask you, how nervous were you there? Because it looked like about halfway through the race, you were down the field a little bit after the pit stops.
Yeah, I was working with Bradley really well, but it looked a little rough with some of the guys behind. So I was like, as soon as the pit window opens, I'm pitting. And that's what I did. Nobody came with me. But then when I came out, I got stuck behind some guys, and it took a while to get by. So I think 3 or 4 cars were ahead of me, and guys were passing me on cold tires. And yeah, I started losing a little faith there for a while.
Well, talk to me about the fight back. Talk to me about those final laps. I mean, it looks like you were able to sort of make that move going down into Lacombe, and then from there it was as smooth sailing as smooth could be.
Yeah. A few laps to the end, it was so hard to get by the guys I was racing. I mean, they were doing a perfect job defending, but I'd get by and then just get swamped on the draft. They'd get by again, but luckily we got a gap to the 3 guys ahead. So then once I got by, I could draft off of them and kind of hold up the guys behind. And then going into Eau Rouge, if you're 3rd or 4th, that's not a bad place to be. So I was sitting there in 4th thinking I didn't have any space ahead, and whoever was in the middle moved to the left, and I saw a gap and said, it's last lap, gotta go for it.
Well, got to go for it indeed, and you pulled it out well. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for the run today?
Got to thank all my not a team guys. It helped so much pushing each other and practicing with each other. Also the guys over at Team Watson Racing, they've been great too, and learning a lot from them. So always got to thank you guys for putting on what I'm sure is a great broadcast, and my wife and the family, my friend Leanne, who came to visit. She's in the room, so I think that's like my good luck charm, her and my wife being here.
Well, fantastic, my friend, and congratulations again on a win. That was Odise Adams Jr., your victor here today. And Joe, I believe you've caught up with Bradley Holly.
And Brad, unfortunately, last time out, missing out on the win right at the finish. This time out, finding himself just not able to catch back up. Talk about that last lap when it looked like into Lacombe, into that after the Kemmel straight there. You got a little held up with everybody kind of getting in each other's way. If it wasn't for that, do you feel like you would have had a better shot?
Oh, yeah, definitely. With the guy behind me sticking his nose in a couple times, it kind of killed my run because I felt like I was a little bit quicker than the guys ahead of me in that last couple sectors. But I mean, other than that, like going in off the straightaways, they were 3 wide, and I kind of just backed out and tried to see what would happen and managed from there.
So this will help boost you back up a little bit in the points after having to miss on round 2. You've had very consistent finishes, which was kind of a hallmark of last season as well. Do you kind of look at how things have been going so far and feel pretty confident?
Yeah, I mean, as long as I can keep it consistent, I hope to have another chance at winning another championship in the MX5 series. But with how stiff the competition is, you got to have consistency, and that's my goal for this season.
I think you're meeting it so far, sir. Anybody that you want to thank for today's podium?
Definitely want to thank you guys for broadcasting us week in and week out. Y'all always put on a great show. Everybody in the PRL organization and everybody in the Waterback crew.
Well, thank you very much for coming to talk to us. That was Bradley Holly, your 3rd place finisher. And that's going to take us to a very short break. We'll come back with the Nürburgring for the GT3 Sprint Series.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much going to be a turnkey. So he's going to press start on his computer, and right after we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to the Precision Racing League. We are getting ready to watch the PRL GT3 Sprint Series. And DJ, it's at the Nürburgring, the granddaddy of all road tracks.
It is indeed. It is going to be very, very tough to get around here in these 45 minutes that we have in store. But look for a couple of good overtaking opportunities, specifically going down off at the Dottinger Hoa. And then the traditional areas that you see overtaking done on the Grand Prix circuit, as we are running the combined one here. So the Yokohama S may be a good one, as well as the Dunlop hairpin, and maybe going down into the Sabine Schmidt's curve. But outside of that, Joe, it's going to be a lot of follow the leader and a lot of let's hope we don't make mistakes.
Absolutely. It's going to be a tough one, no doubt. But as the qualifying has just finished, let's take a look at our starting grid. Brett Thurman is on the pole here today with Drew Becker in second place. Christopher Ryan starts P3, followed by Miguel Fonseca. It'll be Ryan Patel in fifth, then Corey Precker in the sixth position. Ethan Tavitas starts from seventh. Roy Brown to his outside, Alan Roth ninth, and Luke Davis in 10th.
In 11th, it's going to be Lucio Vargas, followed by Colin Mckenzie, with Dale Peterson and Tommy Brisson behind them. Andrew Ellis will roll off in 15th, followed by Nico Zanadakis, with to the inside of row 9 being Eric Dube, and to the outside, Neil Alexander. Glenn Bonko will be 19th, and Michael Blaze rounds out your top 20.
21st goes to David Morris with Blake Ziti in 22nd. Then it's Sean Carmody, P23. Julian LaRouche, last one to set a time in 24th. It'll be Devin Horvath, 25th. Kenny Rodriguez, 26th. And Paul Espina, 27th. And it's Brian Hoskins, Salabudas, Gao, Wright, and Fitzpatrick rounding them out today. Real quick, let's take a look at the race details for today's event. And we have your typical 40-minute race for this one, but there's not going to be that many laps. Unlike before, it is just a little bit longer. It's an open setup race as well as it was in the MX-5s, and also those 13 and 17 incident penalties that will be handed out. They will get a bonus point for the fastest lap pole in 3 incidents or less. And as they get ready to go, DJ, I'm sure the nerves are on for these drivers. This is the ultimate test.
It is the ultimate driving test, Joe. You have got to be pixel perfect every way through every corner around here to maximize lap time. And you've got to watch out for those around you, because if somebody tries to make a very, very overly ambitious move, it could block up the track entirely and really put everybody in problems.
Well, Thurman is really backing them up right now. He is slowing them down completely, waiting for the pace car to pull off, which it looks like it has. And now he is on it. Green flag is out for round 4. Thurman with a very good start as we just begin with the sun setting here at the Nürburgring, and it's going to be a battle for second. Behind him as Becker and Rines are going to go wheel to wheel down into the Yokohama S. Let's see who comes out ahead between those two, as everybody behind is going to have to deal with this very tricky chicane, and it looks like Becker is able to get ahead of Rines.
It does indeed. So a good move there from Becker. It looks like, though, that we've got some pretty smooth sailing. I think everybody relatively up and ahead and nice and through, although it does look like Thurman's starting to open a little bit of a gap here in the early stages. But remember, this is the Grand Prix section of the course. We could see some different cars really stretch their legs once we get onto the green hell itself.
Absolutely. Certain drivers might be a little better on that very technical part of the lap. It's the majority of the lap, frankly, as they come now through the Schumacher S, and Thurman has that critical track position. It's going to be so tough to try and pass once they are out there on the Nordschleife. And now back through Bilstein. Looks like Brett Thurman is not anywhere close to being challenged by Becker at this stage. That bodes well for him as they're getting ready to hit the chicane to end the Grand Prix course.
Indeed they are, and it continues to be 3 BMWs up front. That straight line speed really, really good there for them, as that's going to be a big advantage for them. You can see the rest of the field streaking their way behind them as now we take that left turn through Sabine Schmidt, and we are on to the Nordschleife.
Thurman a little bit offline there as he entered the Nordschleife, but thankfully was able to keep it out of the wall as it gets tight there through there and plunging down the hill. He's got Drew Becker now 3 tenths behind him, so he has been gaining. In fact, looks strong now into Hotzenbach here. It's going to weave back and forth a little bit, and then it's Hockheiken, and finally they'll be able to stretch their legs out. Let's cross our fingers that we don't get an incident, though, coming over Flugplatz.
Indeed, these cars should have enough aerodynamics to force them down into the ground, but the car will get very light coming over the jump there, so you've got to be tricky. We ride on board with Fonseca. You can just kind of feel how the car gets light.
So far, so good. I'm watching them all fling through that right-hand kink after the jump, and so far, no problems, thankfully. But look at this. I think Becker wants that lead, but unfortunately does not have enough of a run as they go through the Swedish cross and down into Ehrenberg. Once again, it looks like Thurman is either going defensive or is offline.
I think it's the former there, Joe, as he just seems like he's trying to protect a little bit. In one way or the other, you do not want to be offline through these sections of the track. You have got to try to keep it together.
Now, the drivers have got to worry about this first lap around the Nordschleife. They're all still relatively packed up here. And if anybody has an incident in front of you like that, I think that's Gao there in the 115. Thankfully, he was towards the back of the pack, so not many people trying to avoid him. But if someone in the mid pack or the front of the pack has a wreck, they will have to do the greatest they can to try and keep from running into them. And boy, the sun's probably making a horrible glare in some parts, although there are a lot of trees to help keep it from getting in your vision.
There are indeed, Joe, but the sun is going to be one of those unpredictable things here as it continues to set. You don't know exactly where it's going to be hitting you in the eyes, and so that's really going to change things up. The other big thing here is that these drivers, they're not going to be necessarily used to running in these conditions at this time. The official race during the week here for iRacing was in the pitch black, so they're not going to be used to having that sun with cars around them necessarily.
Yeah, so slightly different temperatures, but still pretty cool out there on the track surface itself. Through Lauda Links and into Bergwerks. Looks like Thurman is starting to manage to gap Becker a little more than what he was before. There you see our weather on the top of your screen, 19 Celsius for our metric friends. So far, Robert Gao's the only one I'm seeing who had a major issue that caused him to take a tow. Everybody else is still out on the track and going, and this is our next long straightaway here, even though it's not going to be straight through Kesselchen, past the Moot Curve and Klostertal. They're going to get up to immense speeds as they climb the hill.
Yeah, they certainly will as they work their way up towards Hoa Ox, really the next heavy braking zone, the right-hander that leads you directly into the carousel. We continue to watch our leaders here just very, very close to one another. I like this from Becker. He's not being aggressive necessarily. He's just trying to fill the rear view mirrors.
Yeah, it should be somewhat easy to get a mistake out of the driver in front around here. So looks like Colin Mckenzie is our next one of the big problem, and unfortunately, he's a bit in the way. He's trying to pull the Audi out so that he doesn't cause a wreck, but he wants to keep going. Thankfully, everybody's very heads up here. Now it looks like he's got a clearing, and he continues on. Not sure if he had help. I'm checking to see if he did. Looks like he did not.
Well, and it looks like he caught the wall there a little bit with the rear of that car, the right rear wing a little bit damaged, and so that's really going to hurt him on straight line speed.
Tommy Brissall, unfortunately, did run into him, and Tommy, I think, yeah, he had to take a tow. So he wound up being the big victim in that incident, as now we're down into Vipperman, and looking at a couple of our cars fighting for the 6th position. This is Alan Roth in the Porsche as we ride on board with Precker in the Audi.
Yeah, and again, the Audi here, you've got to be very, very careful. That is a car that does not like curbs, and, well, there are a lot of curbs around here at Nürburgring, so you've got to be very, very careful. But Precker doing a good job just keeping up with Roth the best that he can.
Talk about whiplash. I do love the versatility some of these drivers show. Precker was just with us last night in the NASCAR Cup Series at Martinsville. Now he's at the Nürburgring and faring quite well, I have to say.
Yeah, very good top 10 here. If he's able to walk away in this position, I would certainly put that as a feather in his cap. And I want to give him even more credit here. Look at that steering wheel, Joe. That is a NASCAR-style steering wheel. That means you've got to really be putting a lot of torque into it to get that to turn. That is not an easy thing to do.
As they come through Swallowtail and into the mini carousel, this is where he really wants a good launch. Oh, no, too good of a launch for Alan Roth. He launched right into the barriers in the end. The 12 has severe damage from that one. This is going to be way too early for a regular pit stop, but surely he's not able to continue. In fact, I can tell you now, I can see a meatball flag next to his name.
And that is a mandatory come down pit lane and get things repaired. And with no spare car in this series, that is going to be a virtual death nail for him.
That said, you get 3 laps, and 3 laps around here is about 24 minutes. So he actually could make it to the pit window, I think, if the car drives okay. That's going to be a big if, because it looked like he pancaked that right side. As Brett Thurman now on our screen, into Hohenron and out onto the GP course once again. Breathing a sigh of relief, I'm sure, as the first lap is done. Now he just has to do, what, about 6 more of them?
Yeah, something like that, Joe. It is certainly not easy to do and not easy to keep in mind as you work your way all the way around here as they work their way through the Yokohama S. Massive credit to Drew Becker. He is keeping up.
Yeah, he is making this a race. Alan Roth is indeed in pit lane this time, unfortunately. So sad to see him have to serve that. And yeah, I'm seeing 5 laps on mine actually here for the predicted laps on this race. I think 8 times 5. That sounds about right, actually. Yeah. So not many laps at all. It is a very narrow window for all of your strategy calls through here. In fact, there may be just a single lap that everybody is going to have to come in and pit. So as we watch them head towards the Schumacher S now, actually out of the Schumacher S into Michelin and then switching back into Bilstein. Roth is the only one that pitted in that time. Nobody else came in to repair damages. Brisson, Blaise, and Gao did have to take tows during that first lap. So 3 out of 30, that's only 10%. That's actually a pretty good strike rate, I'd say, at the Nürburgring, that we only had that many issues.
Yeah, certainly, Joe. I know I was expecting a few more than that. So and we still have about 4 more laps to go, but still very, very impressive for all of those drivers to keep it on the road.
Looking a little farther back from these top 2, and it seems like Roy Brown has got immense pressure from behind. Tavitas and Davis have been making sure to hassle him here, plunging down through Sabine Schmitz. Look at how close the number 1 is getting to the 313 as well.
Yeah, Tavitas really putting the screws here to Roy Brown to see if he can. I like the little bit of the back off here from Luke Davis. If these two really start to squabble, he doesn't want to be a part of it. He doesn't want to get collected by any of the incidents, and he can just kind of let this play out in front of him.
I don't blame him on that one. Just try and make sure that he's got that buffer. He clearly has got pretty decent pace to be running as close as he has been. And here's going to be a great slipstream for Tavitas. He's going to try and see if he can get side-by-side coming up to Flugplatz. I'm not sure if he really wants to be side-by-side through Flugplatz, and he backs out at the last moment. And did Becker just finally get by? Yes, he did. Becker took the lead. So we have a new leader up at the front. The 22 passes Thurman.
Yeah, and that was going through the Swedish cross and into Arnberg there. So a great move from Drew Becker. Now, we've seen the speed out of that 22. Let's see if he's able to build the gap here a little bit, or if Brett Thurman maybe just wanted to let him by.
I'm not sure. It did look like he lifted a little bit, as I think that's what we got here into the Swedish cross, a little farther down through the field. And that was 13th place, it looks like. That's Dube, Ellis, and Horvath in their little fight. Gonna head down into the valley of compression, where the drivers will get immense speed. It's one of the fastest parts of the track, actually, as high as 165 miles an hour, before then this blind left-hander and into Audenauer Forest.
Exactly, and a little bit offline there for the Porsche of Ellis. Devin Horvath certainly being aware of that. He's going to try to push his way up forward here. I think he smells a move in the water.
Yeah, this is towards Metzgefeld. The drivers have another very swift left-hander, and then you got to get onto the brakes pretty quickly before you get another left-hand turn and another dive down the hill once again. As they struggle to get the brakes on and going wide, Ellis has to give it up. And before they reach the Spiegel curve, Horvath is going to take 13th.
Yeah, good move there from Horvath, just recognizing when there was a problem and being able to capitalize on it. Remember, Devin is your points leader with 2 wins on the season. Whoa, as that's the Mercedes of Eric Dube around.
Oh, after he was doing such a good job, and I was going to say, that's putting himself in the firing line there. And he has to wait very patiently for quite some time. Thankfully, it looks like everybody now has been heads up, and he gets a break and returns in 21st position. It's almost like Bathurst out here, where often you kind of can't sometimes get the car turned around to carry on, even though you want to.
Yeah, indeed. Very, very tight with these Armco barriers on either side, Joe. And you just kind of have to play a little bit of 47-point turn game to try to get it out there without getting any damage.
Up the hill. I think this is Brown and Tavitas still. Through Moot Curve, and way out to the outside for Tavitas. Different lines between the pair of them. Thought Ethan was going for a ride into the Armco that time. But Roy Brown retaining that 7th spot, hitting Style Strecke, which is going to lead them back towards the famous carousel. Single file through that one. As long as you don't pop out, at least. We already saw somebody do that in the mini carousel. Let's see how these two fare.
Looks like they've got the line there pretty well, able to take it nice and easily. Luke Davis just kind of stalking behind the picture there, about 1.1 seconds behind, as he maybe tries to pick up any of the pieces if these two tangle.
Yeah, and from there, it's a huge gap to the next car down. Dale Peterson has 9 seconds to make up to catch them. But that's essentially, I'd say, our top 9 really growing a gap and being able to race their own race from here. In fact, speaking of growing a gap, Becker is about, he's hovering between 7/10 and a second over Brett Thurman at this stage. So he did pull away slightly, but I wonder if some of the longer straights are allowing the 69 car to keep touch with him.
Yeah, definitely could be a little bit there, as he's just looking like he's, I was going to say looking like he was taking a little bit easy, but he was all the way up to the side of the edge there, so maybe a couple of mistakes being what's holding him back.
Could be. Now through the Beloff S's and towards Swallowtail. It's one of the more trickier braking zones trying to slow the car as you turn and then up and over a hill. And you said it before, he did it again, just taking every inch of the track that he can. And unfortunately, it didn't seem to help him get away from Thurman. It's now down to half a second. So will Brett repass him here? Let's watch.
Well, he's just going to need to tuck up behind as they get onto the Doniger Hoa here. Just keep that nose directly behind the 22 and see what he can gain. You can already see the speed advantage starting to play out there for Brett Thurman.
Starting to hit 165 miles an hour. Remember, they were doing that at compression before and just a brief spurt. But this time, as they pick up speed, there's the advantage. 169 miles an hour as we ride on board with Brett Thurman. And Becker doesn't try to fight it. He lets him through. This actually might be to their favor because it's about 6 seconds ahead of Christopher Rhines. I wonder if that's the two of them realizing, let's sort this out when we get to the end. Let's not try and bring this to be a three-car fight.
I think that's a pretty good idea there between the two, specifically from Becker recognizing the assault. And there you can see the fastest lap of the race set by Brett Thurman, thanks in no part to the draft down that long straightaway, but he goes wide.
Oh, well, there goes that. Maybe, no, both of them having trouble here. They came together, apparently a little bit of contact. He got into the back of him. Drew Becker winding up hitting Brett Thurman in a big way. Here it is. Oh, he touched the grass.
Yep, just caught a little bit of it as he tried to extend the entry into the corner as much as possible. And so, I mean, basically there between the two, I'm looking to see if there's any damage on either of the cars right now. But if not, no harm, no foul. They continue to run.
Luke Davis is our lone pitter on this lap, and this should be within the pit window since we're so close to halfway. Everybody else seems to want to try and go long. Nope, I spoke too soon. Blake Ziti is now in. But let's see, Sean Carmody also now entering in. So there's at least three trying to go a little sooner than the others. Tavitas on our screen there in the Audi. Brown rather, in the Ferrari giving chase. This is for the 7th position.
Yes, it is. And Brown trying to close in. Remember, this was broken up a little bit. Eric Dube also a part of this conversation. But he had that spin in that Mercedes, and that set him off. And they don't have too far up the road to be able to catch back in on those cars in front. So there you can see just trying to work their way around, I believe. Yes, that's Precker 2 seconds up the road from them.
Yep, we saw the onboard of Precker before. The other one that we have with us today is Paul Espina. He's not having as good of a day. He's gaining a couple spots from those who have just pitted. Some of those we found out did have meatball flags, including Carmody. But there is Espina in that number 20. Let's take a look at his onboard ride. And it looks like the sun is just about below the horizon now. So we are going to just go into sunset. He's got 2 rigs in his room, and very nice looking ones.
Yeah, indeed, Joe. I'm jealous. I'm still working out of a desk chair, and he's got 2 rigs.
Not sure if he's at some sort of professional location or what, but wow, that looks snazzy as he comes around the hairpin and unfortunately loses a bit of connection there for a moment. So we'll have to switch over to somebody else for the time being, which looks like that is our leaders down into Ehrenberg, Thurman and Becker. Now, is there much damage on either of these cars after that big hit nose to tail?
It looks like there's a little bit of contact damage on the front of Drew Becker's machine, but it doesn't look like there's any to the rear of Brett Thurman.
So good news for Thurman, but Becker might be feeling it when they get to the straights. Wow, that was a big catch and out in our force. Thankfully, the car did not spin. That probably would have been his hopes for the win dashed there as their little coming together has allowed Christopher Rhines to get it down to about 3 seconds. So he's not right on top of them. In fact, we're still not totally, there he is on the screen. Could barely catch the other cars in the same shot. Everything is so compact to the track with the trees right up against the guardrails.
Yeah, indeed. And Ryan's able to close that gap down to about 3 seconds because of that incident there between the two. Remember, before that, it was up to about 6. So Ryan's just clearly not having the outright pace. He was about 3 seconds off on that last lap.
Interestingly, I know we haven't been watching much of the lower field here, but this is really our closest battle on the track. We had a pass for 9th where Horvath overtook Peterson. That did that one nice and clean, the 32. But there you can see on screen now, though. Oh, and unfortunately on screen, but off the track. Looks like Eric Dube has another big problem. That's not the first time this race for him.
No, and I have to imagine that taking that Mercedes around here is a bit of a handful. That car notoriously understeery, and you really need a pointy car to be able to get the best speed through these corners, and I guarantee
Oh, no, they're coming up on another one. Neil Alexander in front of them. Oh! Well, that'll finish off Dube, and just making slight contact there. That was, oh, and he's getting tangled up with Mckenzie now. Mckenzie, I was about to say, just having the tiniest of touches, but Neil Alexander making a, shall we say, rather poor choice of his re-entry.
Yeah, not the best there, Joe. I would certainly call that suboptimal from Alexander.
I'm going to take a look at the replay. This is what put him in that position. The McLaren, who looks very nice, having a spin. And did he beach himself? That is a tall curb there. No, he did not. He just, and he just parked it. That, yeah. I'm sorry, I usually don't like to call judgment, but that's just extremely frustrating to see around a blind corner because that compromised other drivers' races unnecessarily. Well, that is Dube's day most likely over once he gets back to pit lane. It doesn't look like a very fast car at this point. And I'm actually amazed that he didn't just tow it from where he sat.
I am too, but credit where credit's due for Eric Dube for being able to keep that car going along. We focus back on the battle. This is Glenn Vanko, Alex Wright, a battle of the Ferraris right now, the two trying to chase each other down.
Yep, so this should be interesting as our drivers dressed like a circus tent have certainly given us some excitement here in these Ferraris. And Glenn Vanko, almost having Alex Wright have a go at him. And Team Beef has got themselves some fun. Before it was with Brown. Now it's with Vanko. Down through the carousel. Nice and tidy through there. It's getting a lot darker as well at this stage. And it shouldn't get completely pitch black here, but drivers hopefully do have this. Oh, and Becker's had a problem.
Oh,
He's
no.
off. No, don't come back on. No. And that was a hit from Miguel Fonseca, I think.
I think it was as well, Joe. Oh, my goodness. The pace of this race absolutely changed. There you can see, I think we jinxed it talking about just how clear so many of these drivers were. A lot of problems here starting to rear their heads in the latter half of this race.
The 69 now has clear track. There's nobody around him to fight as he comes onto the Dodinger Hoa. In fact, the nearest behind him, Christopher Rines, is about 5 seconds back there. Whoa, he went on his lid. Did he come back on top? Wow, it was a very lucky roll. No wonder he wanted to get going as soon as he could. But that was a lapped car, I believe. If Fonseca was not on the lead lap and just wound up into him. I don't think so, though. I'd have to check and see if I'm right on that one. But that really just causes yet more problems. And that was through Flansgarden, it seems like. Not often you see problems in that corner.
Well, that BMW can be a little bit understeery. He probably just carried a little bit too much speed through the corner, lost the tail end trying to overcorrect. And now it is time, I believe, for pit stops to fire off as we see Brett Thurman and Christopher Rines, your two leaders, both coming down pit lane.
Yes, they are. And Ethan Tavitas and Precker were in a little bit of a side-by-side battle down the Dodinger Hoa. So as I assume they are going to be pitting in, and yes, they are. This will be a battle of the pit crews to see who can get that back out on track and get that track position from here to the end. 15 minutes left to go. And we've got, frankly, the vast majority of the field deciding to pit on this lap.
Yeah, frankly, Joe, I wouldn't be surprised if if everybody comes down, if everybody doesn't come down pit lane here. I think this is the one and only window, as we talked about. Really, only 5 laps in this race, 2 to go now. I think the fuel window is now or never.
So, as they get going, it looks like Christopher Rhines is going to have to give chase. He did gain a little bit in the pit stop. It's down to 4.6 seconds. So that helped him out some. He wasn't all that much faster either on pit lane from what I'm seeing. So he did a great job in his stall.
Yeah, he really did. The fastest pit stop thus far, though, belongs to Ryan Patel, who did 10.6. That's about 2 seconds faster than Thurman, 3 seconds faster than Ryan. So a really good run there for him.
Yeah, not seeing many changes. Precker and Tavitas emerge as they were, but Precker lost a bit of time, about 2 seconds back, whereas before they were nose to tail and just about have everybody in pit lane. We're just waiting on Sean Carmody. Oh, no, we're not going to wait on Sean Carmody. He just had an incident, it looks like. No, maybe he parked it. No, he just came to a halt and parked it. Not sure why the 40 did that. So it's going to be Neil Alexander, the last one, or excuse me, Jim Fitzpatrick, the last one to come in to pit lane from 20th position here today. Our battles have all sort of separated now, but that might not sound very exciting. I can tell you one thing, DJ. This track is a battle on its own. Just racing here by yourself is its own sort of challenge.
Yeah, indeed, Joe. This is really one of those circuits that we sometimes talk about where it's less about driving against the drivers around you and it's more of just driving against the track itself. So technical, so much that you have to memorize to get right. It is an absolute feat to be able to get everything down.
As we watch them now get back up to speed after their pit stops. A little bit of a fight here. I think that is Precker still trying to catch up to Tavitas, and he's got it down to about 1.2 seconds. It's the other fascinating thing I've seen about this track is that it's so long that there's drivers that are stronger at certain portions, so you could see the gaps widen and come together by huge margins.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, everybody sort of thinks of the Nürburgring as this fast-flowing circuit, where you're basically flat out this entire time. That's not really what it is. It is so technical at points. It's flat out at points. It requires a lot of commitment at certain corners. It requires, frankly, a lot of timidity at other corners to be nice and easy and smooth through the corner. It's a bit of a give and take across the board, and so you really have to make sure that you get everything right to be able to nail it. And like you said, Joe, there are different parts of this track that drivers are going to favor. Somebody may be a little bit better coming down the carousel and through that section. Other drivers may be better coming down through the Swedish Cross and into Arenberg. It just all depends on your driving style and how the track is coming to you.
I got to admit, Brecker's driving style looked very calm from his onboard. Did not seem all that stressed. I know I'm usually gripping the wheel with white knuckles whenever I'm lapping around here. And he's still got it within about 1.2 seconds. Hasn't gained as much as what we saw since the pit stop. Remember, it was at about 2.2 when they exited the lane. But they are, I believe, going to get the 1 to go next time by. Yeah, one lap to go when Thurman crosses the line.
And that'll be a welcome relief, I'm sure, for him and the other drivers. Just to kind of recap what is going on there for that podium, Rhines sits about 4 or 5 seconds behind Thurman. That gap slowly building back. And Patel is about 9 seconds behind Rhines. So pretty stable gaps across the board between them. Doesn't necessarily seem like those are going to be coming down anytime soon either.
And that battle between Tavitas and Precker might actually wind up being important because, yes, the top 3 are well clear of them, but we've already seen how easy it is to make race-ending mistakes. If one of the 3 in front of them has that problem, then suddenly this is a battle for the podium.
Exactly. We talked about racing against the track here, and if there is a problem that occurs, that can certainly bring everything out and into play for anybody at all.
So far, we have lost, it looks like, about 10 of the cars out there today. We've got, it looks like 20, yeah, exactly 20 left right now that are still running, with Tommy Brisson being the last of them. Eric Dube is taking repairs. Fonseca and Alexander are as well, but they've been in there for about 7 and 9 minutes, so I don't know if they'll be able to return in time. They'll have to get out there for just the final lap, potentially, when Brett Thurman comes by for the line. And as we follow Roy Brown, I think, here, coming up the hill, he's also got Devin Horvath closing in. So is the 32 also going to threaten another of our Team Beef drivers?
Certainly could be. Horvath on a little bit of a charge here, and remember, he is the points leader, so he wants to try to pick up as many as he can, and I think here today, if he's able to walk away with that top 6, that will be a victory for Devin Horvath.
Well, we will see this decided relatively soon, even though we've still got about half of the Nordschleife to finish out here for these drivers. Love the views around here in the mountains of Eifel. And as they go along one of the higher points of the track down through Vipperman, translates to Seesaw Man because of the bumps here that were thankfully smooth some time ago, but it is still quite rough and also switches direction frequently through there. So you have to be picture perfect, as looks like we're having a little bit of connection problems with our onboard car for a brief moment, and almost took a lot of curb on the inside there.
Yeah, that's a little bit over-aggressive there for Devin Horvath. Thankfully, the Ferrari, not as notorious as the Audi or the Porsche on being a little bit rough over the curb, so you can take that little bit of a rougher line, but still very, very much flirting with disaster there was Devin Horvath.
Now down to 7 minutes to go, so absolutely white flag time for our drivers. And Thurman is now on to the Dodinger Hoa himself. So we follow Roy Brown, hope that he can get far enough away from Horvath. I'm starting to think Horvath is close enough that he is going to be able to tow up and try to fight for this 6th place. But they got a couple more corners to do that, down through the mini carousel. And here's the one that makes the big difference. Coming out of Gallows Hill, Horvath, 9/10, 1 second behind. And as they exit the corner, oh man, it's not a good exit for Brown. He was horrible through there. It's already down to 6/10, so there's already a pace advantage for the 32.
Indeed, there is. He's really going to be coming on here, and you can already see that speed advantage start to play out. 3-4 miles an hour difference. Devin Horvath starting to close down the gap under 0.4 of a second. He may run out of straightaway here, but he'll have certainly a good chance, I think, once they get into the Grand Prix section of this circuit.
Getting in closer. That's through Antonius Beach. He's going to run out of racetrack here unless he's extremely brave. Nope, he's going to back out of it. So that Ferrari not going to be able to overtake the other one for now. He'll get some more chances on the GP course, especially down here into the Yokohama S. That was a decent exit, not great. I don't think he's close enough.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to press the advantage there, but he's certainly going to be close enough. And this is one of the things that I like about the combined circuit, is that you fight the track, as we've said, for the majority of the lap. And then once you come into the Grand Prix circuit, opportunities present themselves for overtaking on a more traditional style circuit to be able to get around. So really a bit of a give and take here. And this is exactly what Horvath is going to do. White flag is in the air. He's going to want to try to get by here and not have to press his luck later on in the lap.
Boy, Brown was way offline for a few of those opening corners, and it shows because Horvath is almost pushing him out of the Dunlop hairpin. They approach, they're heading into the Dunlop hairpin. In fact, he's going to attack him. Not often you actually see passes work into there. So Horvath up into 6. Question is, can he run away now?
Well, I've got to think with the speed that he's been able to lay down, he certainly would be able to. I mean, he's already got the gap up to 0.4 of a second here, and there's not going to be a lot of chances to fight back necessarily as they continue to go around.
From there, it switches over and towards the Nordschleife from here on out. They're going to go through the chicane, and that is it. So looks like he's already distancing himself to about a second over Roy Brown. Looks like that was possibly inevitable. Between the pair of them, no, it's not, because he spun, and Brown is heads up as he avoids to the inside. Horvath gives up a well-earned position.
It does indeed, and he's got to hope he doesn't learn more. Drivers coming up behind. That is the 8th place car of Luke Davis. Davis is able to get out of the way, and that's going to be more spots lost for your points leader.
It ain't over till it's over, and Horvath found that out the hard way. 32 down 2 positions from that one spin. Thankfully, though, didn't get any damage from it as far as I can tell. And this is all still well behind our overall leader, Brett Thurman, who's back up to about 5 seconds over Rines. I got to give credit to Rines in that 111. He's been keeping Thurman honest. Yeah, he hasn't been close, but he hasn't lost a lot of time over these last 2 laps.
Yeah, he really hasn't. It's an impressive run here from Rines. It just looks calm, cool, and collected. I've been kind of checking in on him over the course of the broadcast, Joe, and it doesn't look like he's overdriving the car. He's just letting the track come to him, and it's frankly a pretty impressive run.
Down into Adenauer Forest with our second place BMW. And I'm actually rather impressed with how the BOP, the dreaded word in sports car racing, played out here, because I feared that maybe with this being such a unique track, it would work out way better to one car over another. But I'm looking at our top 5. We've got 2 BMWs, a Porsche, and 2 Audis. That's a pretty decent spread.
Indeed it is, and then we've got a slew of Ferraris behind them. Fonseca and Alexander not having the best of days there in the McLaren, same with the Mercedes. I'm not entirely surprised by that. The Mercedes has been a little bit down as, we've got a car off. That is the 21 machine, it looks like. That is David Morse.
Yeah, Espina got into the back of him, unfortunately. Just made a little contact, and Paul sent him around. That'll move Espina to 16th, Morse down to 17th. And we are down to 19 cars still running after losing Lucio Vargas. So, and Dube and Brisson have not been able to get back out on track yet. So we might wind up with only those 19 finishers out of 30 starters. Also hearing that David Morse now has a black flag. I'm wondering if that is for incident limits. That would be my guess at this stage, but unfortunately he is past the pit entry, so he is going to have to just suck it up and take the time penalty at the end of this race.
Yeah, exactly. Last lap like that, he is not going to have any option at all around it. So that's a little bit unfortunate there for him. He's going to get that time penalty no matter what.
A little side-by-side racing with Horvath and Davis. This is for position. That was brave stuff there as they break down into the corner, and thankfully is able to keep it from running wide as he was awful shallow. But Davis has got a fight on his hands. Horvath all over him.
Yeah, Devin trying to recover, remember, from that spin earlier on in the lap, trying to put as much pressure here to Luke Davis as possible. It does look like, though, that Horvath has a little bit of rear wing damage, so that's going to hurt him in a straight line, and that could prevent him from getting past on the Dottinger Hoa, so that may be why we're seeing him be a little bit overly aggressive here.
Up through the Moot Curve, was not able to get close enough. Style Strecker sometimes offers some passing opportunities, but yeah, Horvath definitely dropping back a little bit. Davis, now that he's got this spot, is going to have to withstand this pressure here on the last lap to get himself this 7th place. Down into the carousel, absolutely chucks it in, and it does well to stick. So can Horvath manage to find some place to get by, especially if he's struggling for that straight line speed?
Yeah, indeed. He's going to have to see what he can do. I think he's going to have to try to press the issue a little bit if he can. He doesn't want to have to rely on that straight line speed, although he is able to close up under braking there.
That seems to be his strong suit at this point. And they come back down out of Wipperman and into the Eschbach curve. Difficult off-camber corner. Very hard to try and nail and get the most out of, with multiple apexes through Brunchen now. Oh man, he is just all over him and unrelenting into the ice curve. Oh, a little wide from both of them. They hold out. But Devin Horvath, he wants this spot. I would have thought he'd try and consolidate, but he's putting them both in a bit of danger as he finally backs off a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to, a little bit of a wide run there for Horvath. He is really pushing that car now.
In front of it all, Brett Thurman has been leading this race from early on. He had some challenge with his rival, making sure to give him a run for his money. But Brett Thurman now has a clear road and a huge distance between himself and his rivals. Actually, it's come down. It was at 6 seconds. It's now at 3.5. I wonder if he's just taking it easy from here. And down into the braking of Tiergarten and Hohenrand, our BMW leader. Is he out of fuel? He might be out of fuel. He's going slow. Christopher Rhines could steal this. The line is coming up quickly, and he's got it. That is Brett Thurman taking a win in nervous conditions. Rhines about 1 second back. Putel is a distant third. It's 17 seconds behind.
My goodness, that could not be any closer, and it goes to show you that even a bigger gap like that at the Nürburgring can come down to a little bit of fuel management. And there you can see Putel very happy as we've got side by side.
And that's going to be Davis in the fight with Horvath, who's going to be able to come out ahead between them. It looks like Horvath has got it as he accelerates to the line. And wow, he fought his heart out. So did Davis as well, to his credit. But Horvath, remember, came in our points leader. I'm not sure if he's going to exit our points leader on this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I'll have to do a little bit of the math on that one, Joe. But still, respectable run there for him. Even with that damage, that is something to hang your hat on. A top 10 at the Nürburgring, never something to shy away from.
So the last of our drivers come to the line. And do we have a battle for position here? This looks like that is Alex Wright with Colin Mckenzie closing up. He could have something as he starts to feel the slipstream. It was at 0.7 of a second. It's already to 0.5, but they're almost to Antonius Beach. That's towards the end of the straightaway. He's looking off to the left-hand side. That's too soon, pulling out of the slipstream there. He wanted to stay a little closer than that. And no, he is not going to have enough unless he does some wild dives down into Tiergarten.
Yeah, he's going to have to keep it behind here. A little bit of clobber at the curb there for Alex Wright. Trying to see Mckenzie trying to force his way by. He may be able to get a little bit of a drag.
No, it's not quite there. And that is going to give Wright 13th and Mckenzie 14th. Doesn't look like we've got any more battles from there, or do we? This is Fitzpatrick chasing Morse. This is within a second, and they still got a long time to go. But Morse, we hear, just had a spin.
Yeah, and that car not looking great. You can see Fitzpatrick flashing the lights there at him. Yeah, there's some pretty heavy damage, it looks like, to the right-hand side of the front of that leading Ferrari. The fender crinkled up there.
And let's not forget he has a black flag, so he's going to get a time penalty regardless. I think Fitzpatrick has this position, essentially, although he's letting him pull away now. Interesting. Does Fitzpatrick have it? No, he doesn't have a black flag. Unless he knows about the black flag of the car up ahead. Let's stick with this until we get to the main straight. Ooh, he has a moment coming into Swallowtail as well. Should have better straight line speed, I would think, than Morse. So he should be able to easily overtake as long as he's got enough fuel, unless he's trying to coast this thing to the finish.
Well, let's see here. He's really let that gap expand. It's now out to 2.5 seconds for Morse. And he's hitting the red line there. He's not short shifting it. Obviously, that's not necessarily how iRacing recognizes it, but I think he may have just bobbled that a little bit. Maybe he knows that there's a time penalty coming for Morse and just didn't want to push himself.
Yeah, could be. So, yeah, as long as he finishes this close to him, he is going to get the position, which means it's time to take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews here at the Nürburgring, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the Nürburgring. Round 4 in the PRL GT3 Sprint Series saw Brett Thurman sprint to the finish and take a win today. It was Christopher Rhines who followed him home, and it was close at the end with fuel nearly running out at about 1.1 seconds as Putel finished in third. It was Ethan Tavitas in fourth place, followed by Corey Precker in fifth. Roy Brown had to fight a little bit for that sixth place, as so did Horvath. Unfortunately, would have finished ahead of Brown if it wasn't for his mistake, but he settled for seventh, still climbed up from 25th, having not set a qualifying time. Luke Davis was eighth, and Dale Peterson ninth, with Andrew Ellis rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, it was Nico Xanadakis, followed by Glenn Vonko, with Alex Wright and Colin Mckenzie behind them. Julien LaRouche was in 15th, followed by Paul Espina, with Jim Fitzpatrick and Jim Morse rounding out your drivers, or David Morse, rather, rounding out your drivers who finished on the lead lap, with Lucio Vargas and Neil Alexander rounding out your top 20.
In 21st, it was Drew Becker, who would have been fighting for the win with Thurman, but it was not meant to be. Eric Dube was 22nd and Miguel Fonseca 23rd. From there on down, it was all DNFs today. Of our 30 starters, Rodriguez and Salaputis did not start the race itself. We've got Brett Thurman ready to talk to us after what was starting to look like a bit of a dominant win. And then suddenly at the very end, did you run out of fuel? What cost you the time that made it close between you and Chris?
Oh, it was getting close. I was getting down there.
It certainly was nerve-wracking for us. It hasn't been the best couple of recent races there in round 2 and round 3. The first one, 25 points on the board was pretty good, but then suddenly you come out swinging. Are you a ring specialist? Are you a ringmeister? Is that what caused you to be so good today?
Well, we've been practicing for weeks to do the 24. Chris and I and another teammate ran it, and so this was quite enjoyable today, rather than the 24 hours of grueling we both passed out on Sunday.
Sure. And yeah, that probably gave you just as much practice right there as well. So getting yourself with a win on the board, where do you go from here? You were kind of far down in the points, so I'm sure a championship is probably a distant hope this late in the season.
I'm just really happy to be out here, and I can't believe I got a podium. It's unbelievable. So just keep stabbing away, and really enjoying PRL and GSRC, and just keep swinging away.
Well, we're glad to see you finally get that. We hope to get to talk to you more times. Before you go, though, is there anybody you want to thank for this win?
Yeah, I'll try and be quick. My wife and family, of course, and Ken Rodriguez, and Speedworks Racing Team Esport, and of course our sponsors, Racing Sim Tools, Racebox SimRacing, and Gomez Sim Industries. It's all been a joy.
That's Brett Thurman, your winner here today, who sounds very appreciative of what he was able to achieve in that number 69 machine. Up next, DJ's caught up with Christopher Rhines, who finished second in the 111 car.
I have indeed, Christopher. We just talked to your teammate there, Brett, talking about the prep for the ring, but you got to be pretty happy coming away with a second place here.
Oh, huge. Man, it was incredible. I had no idea this would happen today. We didn't do too well in our laps on the 24, and we figured something out in our setup tonight, and it just, wow, awesome. It's incredible. Brett did a great job, and I want to thank James, who was running the 24 as well, that came up and helped us out and take some time.
Well, I have to ask you, did you have an immense hope coming to the start-finish line there? Because it looked like Brett was running out of fuel there at the end.
No, man, he was toying with me. He's playing. He said he's playing with me. He likes to do that. So he wanted to try to make it competitive, but he's way too good.
I love the little bit of gamesmanship there between the two of you. Well, next week we head to Barber. A little bit of a different track than this. How do you fare the chances there?
A little less. It's not one of my favorite tracks, so I'll do what I can do. But this is going to probably be my best performance of the season, just because this is my all-time favorite track.
Well, all right. Good to capitalize on it there, my friend. Anybody you want to thank for the second place here tonight?
Everybody on SRTE and you guys and everybody at PRL. It's been a great season. It's just been awesome. And it just capped off by tonight. It feels good to, get a second place, even though, it's not huge in some aspects, but, it's huge for me, especially for the love of the track that I have. So.
Well, fantastic, my friend. Congratulations again on this podium finish.
Thanks a lot.
That was Christopher Rhines, your second place finisher. And now, Joe, I believe you've caught up with Corey Precker.
Indeed, finishing with a top 5 today out at the Nürburgring. Often a track where just finishing can be an accomplishment in itself. So knowing that, are you happy with this top 5?
For sure, definitely. I basically went from finishing on my roof at Daytona, and now I got a top 5 finish here. I think all the preparation for the Nürburgring 24-hour race really helped me prep for this race. So yeah, I'm definitely happy. My best finish in PRL so far.
Well, and also you seem to be quite versatile. We saw you at Martinsville last night. What's that like going from that track to this one?
Very, very different. I know it's a lot of it's especially with the NASCARs and the GT3 cars. The NASCARs like to get a little looser more often, where the GT3 cars will just grip to the track. And, just having the grip out. Unfortunately, at Martinsville, I got into an incident that kind of took me out of the race and put me 20 laps down.
Yeah, you weren't the only one getting caught up in incidents there at Martinsville. But, well, congratulations here for a good finish today. Obviously, that kind of helps turns things around for you. So what's the goal? Is a podium maybe on the cards?
I think that's possible. I got to get faster. There's a lot of fast guys in this league. So just keep practicing and keep chipping away. And I'll be back for Barber next week.
Well, we hope to see you then. Anybody you want to thank for today's top 5?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my team, Yellow Stripe Motorsports, and Ethan that runs a really good team. Congrats to him on the top 4 finish. I think Yellow Stripe Motorsports had a really good turnout today. Devin Horvath with 7th place as well. So we had 3 cars in the top 10. So that's a very good turnout. Unfortunately for Devin, I think he had some connection issues at the beginning of the race, but I'm happy for the team, and thanks to Yellow Stripe Motorsports again, and thanks to Ethan.
That was Corey Precker, 5th place finisher in the number 35 Audi. And finally, DJ is with Devin Horvath, who had quite the battle at the end.
Yeah, indeed you did there, Devin. Talk me through that last lap, trying to get yourself by Luke Davis. You were pushing hard on that.
Yeah, I was. I actually made a mistake earlier in the lap. Spun out because I was ahead of him and one other guy. And then he got past me when I spun out, and I got him at the end.
Well, talk to me a little bit about preparation for this week. The Nürburgring is so special. You're obviously in the championship lead. If my math is right, I think you maintain it. Were you looking for lead maintaining here, or were you going all out today?
No, nothing went to plan. I was having computer issues, so I didn't get any practice in. Halfway through my first lap of qualifying, the power to my house completely shut off. So I actually thought I wasn't going to race. The power came back on. I ran downstairs, quickly turned my computer on, and I'd literally got into the race with a minute left to grid. So I started from the back.
Well, that just makes this even more impressive, my friend. But I guess let's look to the bright side here. Let's look to Barber next week. Is it a return to form for you?
I really do hope so. Nürburgring wasn't... I pretty much didn't know the track at all and just started practicing this week. And I know I kind of had a feeling I wasn't going to be up to pace with maybe a few of the other guys, but going back to more of a normal circuit, I'm definitely going to be pushing hard to get back on top.
Well, we wish you all the luck in the world, my friend. Anybody you would like to thank, though, for this run today?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all my teammates, especially Sean. He helped me out with spotting tonight and helped me out a lot, especially when I started from the back. I'd like to thank my family, give a special shout out to my two kids, Xander and Preston. And that's about it.
Well, thank you so much. That was Devin Horvath, your 7th place finisher and still title leader here tonight.
And that's going to take us to our closing. But before we go, big thank you to our sponsors, including the Majors Garage, home of Baseline Plus setups, 24/7 coaching, and more. Check out our link in the description below and use our special discount code MajorsGSRC for 10% off. As well as ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app, as well as the ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And NinjaTrader. Visit NinjaTrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here, and additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store. It's gsrc.storenv.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. And the next race is going to be, as we heard, at Okayama for the MX-5s and Barber for the GT3s. That'll be Monday, April 18th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.